What's better, blue chip properties or B grade properties? I'll tell you my opinion and I'll tell you why. My name's Thomas O'Regan. I am a buyer's agent. I have 9 investment properties and I just wanted to help anyone make some decisions on buying property or what to do if they're sitting on the fence. Anyway, let's get on with it. The point is, what's better, blue chip properties or B grade properties? And I guess it depends on what sort of situation you are in and what sort of outcome you're trying to achieve. But the difference between a blue chip property generally and a B grade property is actually not the growth rate, surprisingly, or not how much money you're going to make off it, surprisingly. People assume because it's a blue chip asset, you make more money off it. Yeah, not always true in residential real estate. And the reason is because usually blue chip assets are way higher. The cost to maintain them are way higher. And what I really mean by that is the cash flow of blue chip assets is not very good normally. Normally for a blue chip asset, for it to become beneficial in terms of cash flow neutral, or cash flow positive, you have to wait for a period of like 10 years before it is, before you're reaping those rewards. And if you're, generally people like blue chip assets because they can, get their equity or get their capital growth as quickly as possible. But the reality is, if you have a blue chip asset and the cash flow isn't very good and that property has some capital growth, which is the only reason why you're buying it, then you were borrowing that extra money based on your income alone. So you need to service a debt with this property that has poor cash flow already. It's a vicious cycle that basically means you, as the person that's the investor, needs to personally just keep on increasing their income. And I don't understand, why would someone invest if they have to personally increase their own income? It's like you're buying property so you don't have to work anymore. So if you have to personally increase your income, don't you think there's something going wrong there? Right. Bit of a tangent. I obviously don't invest in blue chip assets. So and I'll just tell you the one other benefit of why people just love blue chip assets so very much. And this is actually not true, but I'll tell you why. Blue chip assets are way easier to sell than other properties. And I mean, like, let's be real. If you're buying property, you got to think about it in a long-term time horizon. And if you're buying property to sell it in 1, 2, 3 years, you got to know, like, there's a high chance you are not going to make money. Okay, when you're buying properties, you got to think about it in the long term. So, yeah, even if you were to buy a blue chip property, and the reason you're buying it is because it's very easy to sell, just know if you were to sell it in 1, 2, or 3 years, you're probably going to lose money, just because the cost to acquire it and the cost to sell it are so high that just eats up all the profit. Right. Getting over the blue chip. Let's just leave blue chip properties alone for a minute. Right. What sort of properties do I invest in? I invest in whatever type of property is at the start of a market cycle. So, and let me clarify that a bit more. I invest whatever type of property is at the start of a market cycle that cash flows positive, and it has good rental potential, means it's easy to rent out, means I'm always going to have a tenant and there's not going to be any problems for me getting a tenant there. Okay, so does that mean I can buy in blue chip areas? Yes, but I don't. Does that mean I can buy in the ghetto? Yes, it means I can buy in the ghetto if it's easy to rent it out at the price point that cash flows. Okay, so why would I buy in a shit area? Well, the reality is, if you actually get over the fact that it's a shit area, you'll understand that over time, if it's a shit area or a good area, they all go up all the same. And in fact, the rate that the blue chip asset goes up is only a small amount more than the ghetto, or what used to be the ghetto. What am I trying to say? Whatever. But no, let me give you an actual example. If you're from Sydney, if you're from Australia even, you might know these places. So in Sydney, we'll talk about these two locations. There's an area in Sydney, it's called King's Cross, okay? It's like it used in, I don't know when, when I was alive, it used to have prostitutes. It used to have this street on it. It was called the Golden Mile. Strip clubs everywhere. It was, where all the heroin junkies lived and stuff like that. And the properties were shit there, and it was a dump and all that sort of stuff. And obviously that meant the property prices were very cheap. My dog is just behind me. He's a bit itchy. Just give him a break. Anyway, the properties were very cheap. Now, fast forward, 15 years or so, and that place is one of the most, it's gentrified, right? And it's one of the most affluent places to live in Sydney now. And yes, the property prices there are actually just the same as any blue chip market. And in fact, it is now a blue chip market. So, it's like, here's another example. Let's talk about Campbelltown. Campbelltown in 2010, why do I keep saying that? In 2010, you could buy a house on land there for 200K, and it was a shithole. And it's like, why would I invest in a shithole? Why would I invest in Campbelltown? Well, let's look at the things that matter. Has it got potential for growth? And does it cash flow? And if it ticks those two boxes, then shit, yeah, you should invest. Don't worry if it's a blue chip or a red chip or a yellow chip. Don't worry. Really, just don't worry. We're investing for the long term, okay? And we just want to buy properties that don't affect our lifestyle. They cash flow. You don't need to put your own personal money towards them to hold them. The rent covers the bills. The rent covers the expenses. That's the good stuff, okay? And it has potential to grow. Right. Anyway, we're going on about Campbelltown in, where is it? Western Sydney, wherever it is. I would never go there. It's a terrible place. Anyway, housing commission everywhere. Every second house is a housing commission. So I've heard. I've never been there. I don't know. In 2010, 200K for the property. Could have bought it. Didn't. Too scary, right? Too ghetto. Don't do it. What's happening there? What's going on there now? What's happening? The properties are 700K to $1 million. The properties that were $200,000 are now 700K to $1 million. 15 years later. What? Hey, stop. My dog. Sorry. So what does that tell you? That tells you it's performing just the same as a blue chip asset, except it cash flowed the whole time. And in fact, not only does it cash flowed the whole time, but now it's extremely cash flow positive. So get over the blue chip assets. If you want to buy a property that you can sell at any point in time and, break even or make a little bit of money, then yeah, if you can't handle buying a property and holding on to it for 5 or 10 or 20 years, then, I'm not saying don't buy property, yeah, but just probably, blue chips for you, but just know, you're probably not going to make any money anyway, right? So investing is a long-term game, and blue chip or non-blue chip, at the end of the day, you'll win, okay? Depends what your strategy is. No financial advice.